Hey everybody, Gavinsky here. Welcome to my top iPad music production apps of 2025 video. So the first thing to mention, all of the apps I'm going to look at are all plugins, and they all run on iPad. Now there's a lot more here, but you'll see those later. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. So they all run on iPad. Most run on iPhone too, and many run on Mac, some on Android, also Windows and Linux, right? It depends. But they all run on iPad, and I'm running them on my iPad here inside the host app AUM. Second thing I want to mention, this is a very personal list, right, of my favorite plugins of 2025. There's no such thing as an objective list of best apps, right? So your preferences might be different, and that's absolutely fine. Write in the comments, what your favorites were. And if you look at the pinned comment to this video, you'll see I wrote something there about what kind of apps didn't make this list. I was going to put that information in the introduction, but I thought it would get too long. Also, if you're a developer and you want there to be a chance that your apps make it onto this list, send me copies when you release them. I'm always surprised how some developers don't send me copies. I'm very unlikely to buy them. I'm absolutely drowning in apps, I do buy my own apps from time to time, but mostly I get given them. Also, I have detailed walkthroughs on most, but not all, of these apps here on the channel. Okay, so the first app we're going to look at, Outgrowth, right, by Akil Adam and Blank Forms. So this allows you to quickly convert sample. You could use a single sample or multiple samples. You want to get something a bit better sounding, maybe? Quickly convert those into a nice expressive instrument. So it's got a bunch of different engines that it can use to do that. So if I press this one, here you can actually hear more what I sampled in here. I sampled a felt piano, right? The second engine, this is using granular synthesis to help you sustain the sound. This reflect one doing a kind of looping type thing. Radiate, so this is actually re-synthesized, and this one's using additive synthesis. And this one here, wavetable synthesis. So we've got some nice built-in effects as well. And a cool little modulation section. One nice thing is that's all drag and drop. You just drag here and drag it over to whatever knob you want to assign the LFO to, or the jitter to, or whatever. And so this is also MPE. It is a limited MPE implementation, mind you, but it's a really fun little app. Get some beautiful sounds from this. It's really good for getting this kind of woozy, dusty, sort of lo-fi sound, and I do really like these kind of sounds. Next app, Zodiac Echo by Yonak. So this is based on the Roland Space Echo, as you might be able to gather from the UI. It's just super lush sounding, really beautiful sound from this delay. I love the UI as well. I do wish that you didn't have to tab through it here. When you've got it loaded as a plugin, you'll only be able to see both these parts on the screen at the same time if you open it full screen, which I generally don't like doing with plugins. It's strange because there seems to be enough room for it, so I don't know why that decision was made. But gorgeous. I like this more than Audio Things Space Echo, and that seems to be the general consensus. Now, next, Fauve by K Devices. So this sounds like a granular effect, and it is close to that, but it's a bit different how it does things, and I explained that in my walkthrough video on it. But basically it's chopping up incoming sounds and then giving you control over how to play those chopped up sounds back. So you can control things like the lengths of the sounds. And how the fragments will repeat and how often they'll repeat and how much skipping there'll be, and you can change the rate and all that kind of stuff. It's very experimental, but it's also very musical. It's really beautiful. Okay, next. Booga by Heinbach and Audio Thing. So this is based on the Hewlett-Packard word generator test equipment. It's great for doing weird rhythmic stuff, but you can also use it for tones and textures. And I love how you can load your own samples and crossfade between them like I'm doing in this example. And this can actually get really funky as well and has some nice built-in effects too. Now, next, Tape Scam by Charles Vestal. This is very, very loosely based on old Tascam 4 tracks. It's just an effect plugin though. It's not a looper or anything like that. I mean, it's really loosely based on them. You can get a far more degraded and distorted sound from this than you would from one of those for sure. So just regard it as a very characterful distortion plugin and tape simulation. It's very easy to dial in, beautiful sound. If you like that kind of thing, which I do. Now next, Sculpture by Brambos and Heinbach. So this is a filter bank that you can play like an instrument. So it's got a few different performance modes. Here we're on the faders mode. This elastic mode's pretty fun as well. And here the cycles mode. So different performance modes, also different filter options over here. I want to see more effects like this, ones that feel like instruments. Okay, moving on. Low Poly Synth. Now, I'm just triggering 3 instances of this with a single held note to create a kind of drone. So, Low Poly Synth uses synthesis to generate samples. Every preset's made of 8 samples, right? We can see these 8 columns here. And each of these samples is a different length. So you're getting a rhythmic thing a lot of the time, but it's not going to be predictable in the way it would if all the samples were the same length. So you can play these by keyboard. This is very low volume. But you can play them with the keyboard, just like you'd play any synth. What's a pity though is that these are not MPE, and it would be so great if these were MPE. It's such a shame that they're not. So here I'm using 3 of them, but in each one I've only got the volume up on a couple of samples. And I could change that and put in more stuff. I've added a little bit of auto panning on this first one. And here, some filter modulation. And then I've got the next plugin that I'm going to look at, which is Ambiente by Audio Modeling. So this is a room simulator. So let me just take those off first of all. So if you listen to this, you know, we don't have the same sort of sense of position of the sounds in space as we do when I add these. So what's cool about this is if I load several instances of this, right, like I've got 3 here on different plugins. If we open up one of the instances, we'll see these little boxes, and each one of these represents the sound of one of those plugins, right? And so I can position these sounds. Right? And, you know, change the room type and, you know, the absorption and all this kind of stuff, and mic position and stuff like that. So although this was designed initially for chamber music or orchestral setups, you can use this with any kinds of plugins, and it can really add something special. Unfortunately, it's not designed for real manipulation like an auto panner. You're more supposed to set it and forget it, but it is very useful if you want your sounds to feel positioned inside a real room. Okay, let's move on. So next is Spacewalk by Higher Plane Software. And I'm here using it to play Elastic Osc. So Spacewalk, this is marketed as a plugin for generating ambient chord progressions, but you can use it for any kind of music. It does run very slow though. It's not really designed for fast changing sequences. So I often use this cool feature in AUM here, where I can multiply the clock ratio to make things go faster. But what I like about this is the sequences it creates are more musical than what you'd get from most generative apps. And I love feeding the output of this through other MIDI processing apps like arpeggiators and strummers. But yeah, it's impressive what it puts out. Now, next, Elastic Osc, right, by Oliver Greshke / Elastic Instruments / MOM Instruments, i.e. Mouse on Mars. So this is a synth based on the Mutable Instruments Platz Eurorack module. And you can quickly and easily switch between loads of different oscillator types. Right? But what's really cool about it is that it suits a touchscreen very nicely. You know, you've got loads of different XY pads that you can play. It really feels like an instrument. And you can record movements like I've done here. It's very easy, just little record and play buttons up here. And then in the latest update, it got this really cool LFO system added. Very enjoyable, and you can get lost in this for hours. That's all covered in my walkthroughs on it, so I won't go into it here. Now, next, Oyia by 4 Pockets. So this is a really powerful synth. Let me just play it with this. And what's great is it's MPE. So loads of synthesis options, various subtractive options, also wavetable and additive synthesis. And I really like the matrix, and I just love the fact that it's MPE. Now, next is Polyflow by FAC, which I'm using here to modulate these sliders in this instance of Sculpture, okay? So Polyflow, it's a plugin that's very hard to describe quickly. Let me just bring the volume down here a little bit. Polyflow is a plugin that's very hard to describe quickly, but it's basically a really powerful modulation system that can send MIDI, but also CV to your modular gear or whatever, right? So we have 6 different processors, and these signals they put out can all affect each other in different interesting ways to generate different outputs. So this example here, where I'm modulating these sliders in Salome, is a very simple example, but I've got some crazy complex setups with this over on my YouTube and over on my Patreon, as well as more walkthroughs on this over on my Patreon. Also, speaking of Patreon, guys, I make almost nothing, you know, from YouTube ad revenue. It's like less than £100 a month, right? Which is insane for the amount of work I put into this channel. And Apple have no affiliate program. You know, they dropped it in 2017. So, without direct financial support from you or other people watching this channel, viewers and developers and so on, I just can't afford to do all this. It takes so much time. So if you're a regular viewer of the channel or you're a developer and you feel you've benefited from my work, please, please do look at the pinned comment of this video to find some simple ways you can support me, from joining the Patreon to giving a donation or using my affiliate links when you're buying desktop plugins on Plugin Boutique or buying Pianoteq licenses or instruments, for example. So massive, massive thanks to anyone who's supported me already this year. I really appreciate you. And now let's continue. So next is Audio Thing June. And this is just an absolutely beautiful sounding Juno 60 emulation with a bunch of extra features. And I just love the sound of the oscillators and the filters and the chorus. But the only downside is that it's not MPE. So I really do wish that Audio Thing would make this and their other instruments MPE. Because MPE synths are just so much more expressive than synths that only use regular MIDI. I'm a huge MPE evangelist. I really love it. So if you're a developer watching this, do please look into making your instruments MPE and make sure you implement it well, because there are a lot of very bad MPE implementations out there. Okay, so next, Unfiltered Audio Battalion. All right, so this is a super powerful drum machine with loads of different synthesis options, as well as a great sampler. Now, what I really love here is the For Perform page, right? It basically feels like an instrument that you could, play live. It's so cool. And it's got a great sequencer page. Which also gives you the ability to sequence various modulations, panning, and so on. Here we're on the mixer page. This is awesome. I never got much time to dive into it, hence I'm just using a factory preset here. I'm so busy, with this channel reviewing new apps, but this is one of the ones that came out this year that really impressed me. Okay, next. Just 2 seconds. Let's put on sustain there. Okay. So, Waymaker by Akil Adam again. So this is basically a kind of modular MIDI sequencer containing various different sequencing and utility modules that you can chain together to create custom sequences. It's very powerful. So I'm using it here to play El Piano by Clave Grand, which is my next app that I want to talk about. So this is just beautiful. So 10 different electric piano models. Think, Hohner, Rhodes, Worley, and so on. And you have different cabinets you can choose from and different effects and stuff. And these pianos seem to be physically modeled because the app size is very small. So if samples are used, they must be just something, like key sounds or something. It's definitely mostly physical modeled. So it'll only take up a tiny little amount of your device's storage, which is great. Really great. Okay, next. Dialekt by Sugarbytes. So I've got to say, normally I would never make much effort to learn a groovebox plugin because I'm more of a drone and ambient guy, as you'll know if you watch this channel. But Sugarbytes asked me to make the official walkthrough on Dialekt, so I spent loads of time with it and I dove into it very deep. And you know, it's not like I don't like dance music, it's just not something that I really feel drawn towards trying to make on the iPad. I enjoy this more sort of experimental stuff. But I dove into this really deep and I did grow to really appreciate it. It's really easy to build up your own songs and progressions. It's really fun to jam with, especially when you set it to live mode and just start tweaking the knobs and recording your knob movements. It's really easy to get a lot of movement into things. Okay, next, another audio thing app. SX1000 by Audio Thing. Just turn this down a little bit. Based on the 1970s Italian analog synth, the Jan, I wonder if it's pronounced Jan, I'm not sure, SX1000. So this is a great beginner synth. It's very, very, very easy to use. Very easy to use. But I really enjoy the sound. And I also loved the fact that Audio Thing made the arpeggiator have a free rate mode. So few developers allow their arpeggiators to have a free rate, and it really annoys me because ARPs with free rates are absolutely awesome. You can get some absolutely great sounds out of them. Now, next, let me just reset this. Next, Galaxy Brain by Sketch Audio. So this has a bowed frequency shifter mixed with a delay, as well as a modulation section with LFO, envelope follower, and sequencer sections. So I love frequency shifters. This is great fun. I really hated the UI on the original version of this app. I mean, hated it. But the UI on these Sketch Audio apps got updated recently. It's so much better. So even though I still don't like the decision to put labels below the sliders instead of above them, it's still a really cool little app. And I do enjoy these kinds of sounds. Next, Noise Space by Igor Vasiliev. So this is an interesting app for making soundscapes, drones. You can do rhythmic stuff too, and textures and stuff. It uses noise generators and granular synthesis mainly. So you can get a pretty wide range of different sounding outputs from this thing. I made a bunch of presets for it, and I shared them, by the way, over on the higher tier of my Patreon. And this is also nice to combine with other apps. Okay. Next, I picked the Shigeru Kawai. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. The Shigeru Kawai piano from Pianoteq, which came out this year. So especially the felt piano. I absolutely love the felt piano variations on this. I just feel this is such a usable, beautiful, intimate piano sound. It's gorgeous. It's great for melancholy, thoughtful, introspective pieces. And if you look at the pinned comment of this video, as I did mention earlier, you'll see that there's an affiliate link that I have for Pianoteq. So anytime you're buying any Pianoteq licenses or instruments, if you use that link, I get a little cut. And anything you buy via that link will work on desktop, but also iPad and iPhone. So it's a great way, that and my plugin boutique link or any other affiliate links, great way to support my work at no extra cost to you. I really appreciate those of you who've been using those links. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. It does help, and it's such an easy way for people to help. If more people did it, it really would make a difference for me. Now, the next app is Bleass Tides. So I always really enjoy Bleass's clean... Now, I never know if I'm saying that right. I know some other YouTubers pronounce it totally differently, Bleass or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. I call them Bleass. So I always enjoy Bleass's clean UIs. The design of the apps is very intuitive, and they have pretty powerful built-in modulation options, including, envelope followers and stuff. So here in Tides, we've got a delay plugin where we can basically add in different effects in the feedback loop, and it's very easy to just drag these to move them around. And there's a decent variety of effects that you can add. So you can come up with some very cool stuff. Now, of course, you can set up that kind of thing for yourself, especially in a host app like what I'm using here, AUM. It's very easy to set up feedback routing in AUM. So I do enjoy doing that, but that is for sure more work. I mean, it's also more play, and it is fun to do that. But I did enjoy this, and it comes with a lot of cool presets as well, like really a lot, and some of them very creatively done. So everybody, that's my list for this year. And I just want to say, when I was thinking about what apps to pick for this a few weeks ago, my initial impression was, I was thinking, I really don't think that 25 was a very good year for iPad app releases. But then I realized when I actually made the list that there were a lot of good plugins released this year. That said, I want to repeat what I've said many times before on this channel. Not enough developers are designing apps that really take advantage of the touchscreen. The iOS music scene is not living up to its full potential. It's not. I think it's a shame. I think devs can do better, and I hope that in 2026 we see more apps being released that really take advantage of the touchscreen, and apps that are a joy to use and, feel like they're made to be musical instruments and made with musicians in mind, and not putting loads of obstacles in your way. Apps that help you to get into a state of flow and just really enjoyable to use. I feel that too much app design for the iPad and iPhone is rooted in old hardware paradigms or in desktop plugin paradigms, where you've only got a mouse and you don't have multi-touch. So that really needs to change. So thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great Christmas if you're watching this around the time the video comes out. Peace.